Krishna Krishna, Hare Hare, Hare Rama, Rama Rama, Hare Hare. Hare Krishna, Krishna Krishna, Hare Hare, Hare Rama, Rama Rama, Hare Hare. Hare Krishna, Krishna Krishna, Hare Hare, Hare Rama, Rama Rama, Hare Hare. Hare Krishna, Krishna Krishna, Hare Hare, Hare Rama, Rama Rama, Hare Hare. Hare Krishna, Krishna Krishna, Hare Hare, Hare Rama, Rama Rama, Hare Hare. Hare Krishna, Krishna Krishna, Hare Hare, Hare Rama, Rama Rama, Hare Hare. Hare
Hare Krishna devotees, Dandavat Pranam. Welcome to Nityam Bhagavata Sevaya. As requested by the senior devotees, I'll be playing the recorded video on the importance of book distribution by His Holiness Jayapatāka Swami Maharaj. And then we have a longer session on book distribution by His Grace Gauranga Prabhu. So I'll be playing the video now. Hare Krishna.
On this Gita Jayanti day, I'm glad to give a message for the Sankirtan devotees in New Zealand and all over the world. So, on this day, we did a special sacrifice of all the ahutis of the different slokas of Bhagavad Gita. And we want to see the world flooded with still Prabhupada books. Today, I'd like to encourage all the devotees to distribute books. Prabhupada wants us to distribute his books and to study his teachings. Both things are important. So, if we give the books, I think that we actually save the people from the horrible experiences of hellish life. I heard recently a pastime, which I think I'd like to share with you. A person came to the Tirupati temple and asked if they have a Bhagavad Gita as it is. I said, yes, we do. I sold it to him, and he held it. He started crying. He was so happy, he started crying. I said, why are you crying? What happened? He said, I died. I was taken out of my body by Yamadutas and taken the Yamaraj to hell. It was horrible situation, hell. And the Yamaraj said, he's the wrong guy. Take him back. Bring the right guy. I take him back. And the Yamadutas, one Yamaduta told me, it's not telling me why. If you get the Bhagavad Gita as it is, you don't see us again. So I went to I set up, I was being taken by procession to the crematorium. And I set up, so I did that since standing up, I thought maybe I was a zombie or a ghost or something. And he started screaming and running. I said, no, it's all right. I'm not a ghost. I got down. I ran to the temple. I got Bhagavad-gita. It's just the same of my life. I was thinking that even the Yamadutas are holding this book marathon. Our Krishna, please help us save people from hellish existence by reading Bhagavad-gita, getting the books of real Rama. Hare Krishna.
Thank you for watching our videos. Be sure to subscribe to our channel. We publish new videos every day, and don't forget to like and share our channel.
To a group of scholars. And then this scholar raised his hand and Prabhupada said, yes, what's your question? He was a professor and he said that you are saying that the conclusion of all the Vedic literatures is chanting of the holy names. But I thought the conclusion of Veda is Vedanta. And Vedanta says this, and Vedanta says that, and Vedanta says this, and Vedanta say that. And Prabhupada kept hearing and Prabhupada just interjected, said, are you finished? And he said, no, I have something more. And he kept asking further. And then Prabhupada asked again, are you finished? He kept on going. And then finally he sat down and said, I'm finished. He was standing and he said, I'm finished. Prabhupada said, sit down first. So Prabhupada asked him to sit down. Then Prabhupada started quoting from the Vedic literatures, from the Upanishads, from the Bhagavad Gita, all the different quotations about how chanting of the holy names is the conclusion of all the Vedic literatures. The conclusion of the Srimad Bhagavatam is Nama Sankirtanam Yasya Sarva Papa Pranashanam Pranamo Dukkha Shamanam Tam Namami Harim Param. And then Prabhupada was quoting with so much of conviction, so much of strength. And he went on and on and on for 20-25 minutes. And then everyone was like thrilled to hear this. And then this gentleman, he suddenly raised his hand. And Prabhupada said, what happened? And he said, can we have kirtan? That was the effect of one question answer session. At a scholar who had a totally different opinion, he got convinced that this is the conclusion. So therefore, because Lord Chaitanya Mahaprabhu came to give us the Yuga Dharma, that which is the most essential for the conditioned soul to follow, he gave the chanting of the holy names as the essence. And therefore, he approached Srila Rupa Goswami and Sanatana Goswami and requested them to write all of these scriptures in great detail. The connection between all the Vedic literatures and the bhakti being the essence of all, and from that, how the chanting of the holy names is the essence and the most powerful anga of bhakti. That task Lord Chaitanya Mahaprabhu gave to the Goswamis. And therefore, in the Chaitanya Charitamrita it is described, Kalena Brindavana Keli Varta, that Krishna performed his pastimes in Vraja 5,000 years ago. Lupteti tam kyapayatum vishishya. But those pastimes got covered over. In due course of time, people did not remember what is Braja Bhakti. Lupteti. Kripamrtena abhishishescha devas tatraiva rupam cha sanatanam cha. So Rupa and Sanatana Goswami Pad actually brought out this essence and established how Lord Chaitanya Mahaprabhu's philosophy is simply a harmony of what Krishna has established in his 10th canto. And therefore it is described that Aradhya Bhagavan Brajesha Tanayas Taddhama Vrindavanam Ramya Kachit Upasana The method of worship recommended by Lord Chaitanya Mahaprabhu is that which was followed by the gopis. And therefore, one cannot imagine that such detailed literatures were, written by Rupa and Sanatana and Jiva Goswami Pad. And Jiva Goswami Pad practically is credited with writing 400,000 original verses in Sanskrit. Everything he wrote, original. We have difficulty remembering some verses. We have difficulty going through Prabhupada's books. One time one devotee was looking at the book, shelf, and then he had a very sad look on his face. And I said, why are you looking so sad? He said, will I ever be able to glance through all those books and see what Prabhupada has written? So Jiva Goswami Pad wrote 4 lakh verses. And after he wrote those 4 lakh verses, he was also actively involved in establishing the temples in Sri Vrindavan Dham. But at that point, all the Vaishnavas in Vrindavan approached Kaviraj Goswami. Because Raghunath Das Goswami was feeling intense separation from Mahaprabhu's disappearance. And then, all the other Goswamis started disappearing. And at one point of time, Raghunath Das Goswami just felt, I will jump from the top of Giriraj and end my life. So the devotees requested him that the only way you can overcome these feelings of separation is when you speak Lord Chaitanya Mahaprabhu's pastimes. So Das Goswami sat on the bank of Radhakund and he spoke, Chaitanya Lila Ratna Sar Swarupera Bhandar Teho Thuila Raghunatera Kanthe Taha Kichu Ye Shunilu Taha Iha Vistarilu Bhaktagana Dilu Ei Bhete. So he says, Lord Chaitanya Mahaprabhu's pastimes, they are like jewels, precious jewels. Swarupera Bhandar, and Swarup Damodar Goswami had collected all of these jewels with him. And Teho Thuila Raghunatera Kanthe, and they are placed at the throat of Raghunath Das Goswami. And Kaviraj Goswami says, whatever Das Goswami spoke, I just heard from him. Taha kichu ye shunilu, taha iha vistarilu. Whatever I have heard, that only I have expanded. Bhaktagana dilu ei bhete. And I have given all of these literatures, Mahaprabhu's pastimes, as a gift to the devotees. And if the devotees feel that I am not able to understand this, yeba nahi bujhe keha, shunite shunite seha. If you feel you cannot understand Chaitanya Charitamrita, you feel it's in Bengali, it's like this, like that, shunite shunite, keep hearing again and again. Just keep hearing ki adbhuta Chaitanya Charitra and understand how astonishing Lord Chaitanya Mahaprabhu's Leela is. Krishne upajibe priti, and then one will develop love towards Krishna. Janibe rasera riti, and then one will understand the flavors of the rasas. Shunilai bada hoy hit, and just by hearing these words and by spreading these words, you will do benefit for yourself and for others. And therefore, Sri Chaitanya Daya Karoho Vichar, Vichar Korite Chitte Pabe Chamatkar. That various kinds of compassion exist in this world, but they exist at the level of the body, and when the soul is separated from the body, the effect of that compassionate activity ends. But the flavor of compassion which Lord Chaitanya Mahaprabhu has introduced, Vichara Korite, one must contemplate and meditate on it, because Mahaprabhu is bringing a feast for the soul, which the soul has been hankering for since millions of lifetimes. And therefore, there is dissatisfaction within that soul, because he is not connected with Krishna in pure devotional service. Vichara korite chitte pabe chamatkar. And then one will be able to appreciate the magnanimity of Lord Chaitanya Mahaprabhu. And therefore, Prabhu kahe aage kaha shunite paye sukhe, Apurva amrita nadi vahe tumhara mukhe. When Mahaprabhu is eager to hear this philosophy from Ramananda Rai and is saying, what you're speaking is like a river of nectar. Keep speaking more and more, as this nectar is inundating my soul with ecstasy. And therefore, Lord Chaitanya Mahaprabhu, when he approaches Ramananda Rai to hear, Tomar thani aila tomar mahima shuniya, tumi mora stuti kara sannyasi janiya. He says, you are glorifying me and respecting me because I am a sannyasi based on the social status. But it is my duty to sit and hear from you because you are speaking Harikatha, Krishna Katha, which is the biggest need for the soul. And therefore, as every soul in this world is busy solving and taking care of its physical needs, emotional needs, social needs, financial needs, Lord Chaitanya Mahaprabhu came specifically to give each one of us the fulfillment of our spiritual needs. And therefore, Lord Chaitanya Mahaprabhu's message, as given by the Goswamis and later followed by Narottam Vishwanath, Baladev Vidyabhushan, and then Bhaktivinoda Thakur, when he was in Bengal, he could not find one copy of Chaitanya Charitamrita for 11 years. And after 11 years, when he found that copy of Chaitanya Charitamrita, then Bhaktivinoda Thakur started, writing commentaries on that. And then his son, Srila Saraswati Thakur, he took this legacy forward. And then Srila Saraswati Thakur, Bhaktivinoda Thakur himself was a grihastha with so many children, and he was taking care of all of this. But along with that, he wrote more than 100 books. And each book is a classic. Just to read the list of his books will take a long time. What to speak of reading those books? So someone asked Srila Prabhupada that Bhaktivinoda Thakur wrote so many books, he was such a powerful acharya and this and that, but why he did not come to the West and preach? Prabhupada said he left some seva for me. So Srila Prabhupada, he followed in the footsteps of Bhaktisiddhanta Saraswati Thakur, who actually took the essence of Srila Bhaktivinoda Thakur's teachings, and he actually gave these literatures in a modern context at that particular time. And he wrote commentaries in Bengali. So practically speaking, Srila Bhaktisiddhanta Saraswati Thakur was such a powerful acharya at that time that he was able to take the Gaudiya Vaishnavism, which was covered with all kinds of misconceptions, to the next level of acceptance by society. And it is described that Saraswati Thakur was so powerful and he had so many disciples that when he would be traveling from Calcutta to Puri in a train, in every station there would be hundreds of his disciples who would come to receive him and greet him. And this was an all-night train. So in different stations the disciples were coming and hearing. Must be really, really sincere that they were coming for a lecture at night. Of course, because it was not online also. And it was not stored in the desired tree. So they came there, and Saraswati Thakur would stand at the door of the train and give a lecture. And then all of these disciples would be hearing. And then so many other common people would get intrigued that why so many people are standing in the middle of the night. They would also hear. And it is said that many times the driver of the train and the conductor would also be attracted and they would hear. And they would get so absorbed that invariably the Puri Express at that time would reach very late. And what was the reason? Harikatha. So Saraswati Thakur had that magnetism. And then he traveled for like 3 days to reach, Guwahati. And after 3 to 4 days travel, when he arrived at the host's place, he took a bath And the host said, probably you should take some rest. You have traveled 4 days. Saraswati Thakur said, no, for me, rest is speaking Harikatha. So I have not been resting last 4 days. I need some rest. I need serious rest. And he started giving lecture and he spoke for next 6 hours. So therefore, Srila Saraswati Thakur, he took this message and inundated with Harikatha. And so Srila Prabhupada, when he came to the West, he had this mission of taking all of these literatures which was in Bengali and Sanskrit and translate into English. We just chanted this verse for today. It's such a complex verse. Right? Appears that, someone puts laddu in your mouth and then you speak and then different words will come out. It's so difficult. One time you get it right, second time if you're not focusing, you can't get it right. This is not for casual reading. You can't be reading these verses at 10 o'clock at night, lying on the bed with a, desire, okay, let me study a little bit before I go to sleep. By the time you end the first line, you'll be out. So what is the chance that any of us would have gone to study Sanskrit and then gone into Krishna Shankar Shastriji's Bhagavatam commentaries, where he has collected 12 to 15 commentaries of every Acharya on every verse and put it all together in the form of a huge volume? How many of us would have gone through those literatures to understand the Bhagavatam? How many would have studied Bengali to understand Chaitanya Charitamrita and Chaitanya Bhagavat? So therefore, we should understand the value of what we have received, because pioneering is always filled with challenges and threats and difficulties and obstacles. So what Mahaprabhu had to face, what the Goswamis had to face, what Narottam Srinivas had to face, what Chakravartipad had to face, and what after that Baladev Vidyabhushan had to face. And then Bhaktivinoda Thakur and Saraswati Thakur and Srila Prabhupada. So it's a complete network of great souls who have been preserving this rare jewel of the essence of Srimad Bhagavatam, the Braja Bhakti, and Shraddha in Braja Bhakti, and they have been handing it over generation after generation. It's such a rare and precious jewel which has been very carefully preserved, and it has been handed down to us with utmost care and gentleness. And only when we understand that, we will be able to appreciate what Srila Prabhupada has done by giving his books. So Srila Prabhupada, one of his disciples, he went to the king of Indore and he tried to preach to him and tell about his books. So the king didn't buy any of those books. So he came back to Prabhupada and said, Srila Prabhupada, I spoke a lot about your books to this king. He didn't take it. Probably I did not present your books properly. And Prabhupada said, my books are like gold. One who knows the value will buy it. Right? If you have gold, then someone needs to know its value and someone needs the ability to pay for the gold also. Is it not? So just having 24 karat gold is not sufficient. If you have 10 rupees in pocket, you can't buy 24 carats also in the vegetable market. So therefore, Srinvata Sukatam Krishna Punya Shravana Kirtana. Unless one has a sufficient stock of piety, one will not have the fuel to perform devotional service. The vehicle cannot move without fuel. And therefore, without the fuel of Sukriti, it's impossible to engage in devotional service and attain success in any devotional effort. Iti nandadeo gopa Krishna Rama katha muda kurvanto ramamanas-chana vindan bhavavedana. In Vrindavan, when demon after demon were attacking Sri Vrindavan Dham, Krishna and Balram were performing their pastimes, and Nanda Maharaj and others, they were in great anxiety, but they overcome and rose about that anxiety because they were absorbed in hearing about Krishna and Ram's pastimes. Krishna Rama Katha Muda. That Katha of Krishna and Ram gave them the joy, gave them a meaning to life. Kurvanto Ramamanascha na avindan bhavavedana. The miseries caused by the material existence cannot be stopped. It will continue. But they did not experience that. Why? They were absorbed in this. So therefore, when Lord Chaitanya Mahaprabhu was with Prataprudra Maharaj, and Prataprudra Maharaj came to this verse, Tava Kathamritam Tapta Jivanam, that the Katha of Krishna is the panacea and the cure for the heat of this material existence. Mahaprabhu said, Ke tumi karila morahit achambite asipyao Krishna lilamrit. Who are you? You seem to be a personification of compassion, that you are giving so much of compassion upon me by giving this Krishna Katha. And Mahaprabhu was, totally in ecstasy and started embracing Prataprudra Maharaj. So Kaviraj Goswami says, Purva seva dekhi tare kripa upajila, anusandhan vina tare kripa prakashila. Lord Chaitanya Mahaprabhu had already noted Prataprudra Maharaj's seva, menial service, his sincere devotional attitude, and therefore he had decided, I will bless him. And this hearing of Krishna Katha from Prataprudra Maharaj's mouth inundated Lord Chaitanya Mahaprabhu's heart with ecstasy, and he embraced him, and he blessed him, and he started asking, Purva seva dekhi. So moment after moment, whatever service we are performing, Krishna is seeing that. And therefore he decides to bless us. And therefore, at what point of time Krishna's blessings will manifest in what form is difficult to predict. Anusandhan vina kripa prakasha upajila. And without even introduction, Mahaprabhu blessed him at that point. So therefore, Srila Prabhupada, he took these literatures and he embarked on this mission of translating them into English language. So we see the purports and we think, okay, it's normal. But when Prabhupada had to write a purport, writing a purport involves 5 things. And why it is important to explain? Because none of us have written purports. Probably there may be someone, I don't know, some scholar sitting here. But usually, it's not so easy to just write purports to various shastras. What does writing a commentary mean? Before coming to ISKCON, the only commentary I knew was cricket commentary. Or any of the sports commentary. And we were pretty much absorbed in that. And we were very emotional about it also. And I am coming from a generation where we used to listen on radio also. And trying to visualize what was going on. It was proper Shravanam. Right? So till the television came through. So when we say Prabhupada wrote commentaries to the Bhagavatam, what does it mean? That Krishna sports with his cowherd boys, with his cowherd girlfriends. Krishna sports with all of his associates. All of those sporting pastimes are being described by the commentator, ball by ball. Right? I need to give this commentary to help you appreciate what Prabhupada's commentary means. So therefore, the first aspect of a commentary or a purport is padacheda. Padacheda means you see these Sanskrit words are all together. So therefore, you have to first separate these words, because these words are all intertwined. So in such a complex fashion, you don't even know whether it's 1 word or 2 words or 4 words or... Is it not? So that is the first thing. The words have to be separated. Padacheda. So padacheda means you separate each word. And then once you separate the word, that's not sufficient. You must know what it means. Is it not? See, if it is all separated, said, now what? So that is called Pada Artha Ukti. Pada Artha Ukti means for each word, meaning is given. What does this word mean here in this context? To give the contextual understanding of that word. Pada Artha Ukti. Then the third element is Vakya Yojana. Vakya Yojana means various words are put in different places. So some words are in front, some words are in the back. But put all those words together so that a proper sentence is created. Because in Sanskrit it is not, exactly following the sequence as in English. Right? So therefore, some words will come in front, some words will come later. Vakya Yojana means put all of those in sequence. And the fourth is Vigraha, which is expand to give meaning to each compound. And then fifth is Tarka. So after you have given meaning to each compound properly, then Tarka. Tarka means then offer your arguments for and against. So in this particular case, many times Prabhupada will be speaking, in favor, sometimes he'll be refuting some of those arguments of other people and things like that. So that is called Tarka. So these 5 elements, Pada Cheda, Pada Artha Ukti, Vakya Yojana, then Vigraha and Tarka. All of these put together go into the writing of a commentary. And all this Prabhupada was doing at 12 o'clock at night. So just imagine that 12 to 4, how do you feel inspired to do some intellectual work? 12 to 4 at night, he was doing it every day. So one of Prabhupada's transcribers, he told Prabhupada that some days I see you have recorded few digits. Other days I see you have recorded many digits. That means you have recorded 2-3 hours of your commentaries. And some days only 5 minutes of commentary even after sitting 3 hours. Why is it like this? In the sense he was wanting to know, is there a standard or something? Or sometimes more, sometimes less. Prabhupada said, my job is not mechanical like yours, just keep typing. Your job is simply to hear and type. I have to think how this word and the translation and the meaning to this word and the purport I give to this word makes sense to conditioned souls for next 10,000 years. And at that point, Prabhupada did not have the luxury of going back and forth. He just had the dictaphone. He would dictate into the dictaphone, move ahead. Sometimes he would go a little bit back and forth, but he did not have luxury of re-speaking what he has already spoken all the time. Because if he had that, then so many books would not have come at such a speed. That means what kind of conviction he must be having that word which has gone into the dictaphone is final for print. And then later they would come in a printed form and he would have to go through it. But you can't be changing though. You can't say, oh, the whole book, I think. In our case, it may happen. पूरा ही गड़बड़ है. क्यों गड़बड़ है? थोड़ा नींद आ गया था रात को. 2 घंटा निकल गया. क्या करें? You can't blame me. So, we take it for granted, but just try to understand it is the biggest miracle of this century. That such, and it is not some casual things also, like a folk tale going on, and then someone is translating a folk tale. It is Bhagavatam, the most complex, the highest, most sophisticated work of Vyasadeva in his maturity. And it is going to be read for thousands of years. And it is not that all day Prabhupada has been sitting with different commentaries and talking to scholars on what commentaries to write and this and that. And at night he is prepared. after a whole day of preparation of discussing with different scholars of Sanskrit and Bhagavatam. Full day he is dealing with some problem here, some land dealing here, some devotee having difficulty there, and traveling from here, traveling there. And then at night, dictaphone in the middle of the night. So therefore, it is very beautiful to see how Srila Prabhupada actually wrote these books. And Prabhupada said Krishna spoke these. So Prabhupada was talking to one reporter, and reporter said, how do you write these? Prabhupada said, Krishna speaks to me. Krishna has written these books. So he didn't understand. He looked for help to another disciple. That disciple said, what Prabhupada means is, Prabhupada prays and Krishna gives him intelligence and then he writes. Prabhupada turned around, who is that? I am saying Krishna is writing these books. Who are you to make this interpretation? So actually speaking, we should appreciate the kind of effort which has gone into publishing, printing, and writing of these books. To the extent we appreciate that austerity, to the extent we appreciate how this is not some immediate product. This is the work of 500 years of our family dynasty. So members of our family in the Gaudiya line have planned and schemed and dreamt and worked for more than 500 years as part of a master plan as to how every jiva can experience the inundation of the ecstasy of Krishna Prema. Namo Mahavadanyaya Krishna Prema Pradayate. But that access to that Krishna Prema will change as the language changes, as the culture changes, as situations change, as the socio-political dimensions change. And that becomes the responsibility of the acharyas to make sure that the access remains. Just as passwords keep changing, but the data remains the same. But as the users change and the situations change, the passwords may change, but it becomes the duty to make sure that access is never denied. Access is always given. So therefore, Kvachaham kitava papa brahmagya nirapatrapa kvacha narayaнаtyeti bhagavan nama mangalam. So Ajamil says, the holy name is so pure and so powerful that it has come in contact with me. The Lord is so merciful, He does not deny associating with someone who's fallen. And therefore Prabhupada wrote the essence of the Bhagavatam in all of his commentaries and purports. And repetitive message of how the chanting of the holy name and the Harinam Sankirtan is the essence. So just by doing that, Srila Prabhupada has connected millions and millions of souls who may not have the patience, the endurance, the temperament to deal with Sanskrit scholarship and penetrate into such esoteric meanings and even try to understand the 6 systems of philosophy. Very few people in ISKCON also I know who understand the 6 systems properly. Right? I remember we had gone on a yatra to South India in year 1999, Narsinga Yatra and everything. So after the yatra, we were all in a bus. It was a whole group of youth. And then, we said, okay, let's start having a quiz on what we have heard so far to refresh, like a smaranam. And so we started having quiz and, everyone was answering. There was one guy who was just quiet. And I was asking him, you want to answer something? Kuch yaad hi nahi aa raha. And then I was trying to provoke with the easiest possible thing which anyone can answer. Even that he couldn't. Finally I got frustrated. I said, okay, what was the menu on the first day? And immediately he got up, started saying that. Idli, vada, this. And so at last you remember something. So to remember in Kali Yuga is not easy. And what to speak of this complex philosophy. So therefore Prabhupada took the Bhagavatam and the Chaitanya Charitamrita and the Bhagavad Gita, and he actually instructed devotees to publish smaller books. Because just by seeing this size, people get bewildered. ये लीजिए, क्या करूं? पढ़ना है किसको? आपको? नहीं आपको नहीं बाबा, ये कितना साल लगेगा? By today's Facebook and WhatsApp, speed of reading, people will ask how many, what's the 5-year plan for this volume? So actually speaking, it's extremely difficult for anyone to connect with these big literature. So Prabhupada gave the small books. And what's the benefit of the small books? You just read through in a very simple language, and then people understand some of the essence. Right? One of our, devotees, many years ago, he was trying to distribute these books. And he gave this book, Coming Back, to another person. In the train, he was shouting about coming back and the science of reincarnation. Punarjanam ka vigyan, coming back. And one guy was sitting there, he said, so you believe in reincarnation, right? So this devotee said, yes. Said, okay, you give me book in this life, I'll pay you in next life. And everyone started laughing and clapping and said, "Arey, dekho abhi kya karta hai? Does he actually believe in reincarnation?" So this devotee was also quick. He said, the kind of life you are leading, there is no guarantee in next life you will be human being or not. If you become a dog in next life, how I will do vasuli? So even for small books, you'll find that people are not always ready to take it because they don't really know what is inside this. I was distributing books one time on the train many years ago, and when I gave, one small book to one gentleman, he said, "Why are you doing this? You don't have a job?" I said, "No, I was studying engineering at IIT, and then I decided I'm inspired to do this." He said, "Really, you're from IIT? I just completed a whole film on what all students do to get into IIT. I'm a filmmaker. And I, did a whole film on what all they do to get inside IIT. But now I'm surprised that after going through IIT, you're doing this. So now looks like I must make a film on what all people do after leaving IIT." But these books, they contain the knowledge which cuts across all kinds of educational backgrounds, because it is for the benefit of the soul. And therefore, when a devotee is trying to distribute books, one should not expect that long line of a queue of people will be waiting. In front of ATM, you will find long line. Don't expect that line in front of your book table or in front of you if you are carrying books. Why? Because Krishna has already given the statistical probability in Bhagavad Gita. Manushyanam sahasreshu kaschit. Very few only will be interested. One time, devotees had set up a book table and one drunkard came. And he started arguing. He took the Bhagavad Gita, read the first page and said, "Ye complete nahi hai." First of all, he is just a man walking suddenly. On top of that, he is drunk. On top of that, he has seen only the first page. And then he is concluding, "Complete nahi hai." So this devotee tried to avoid him, started talking to other people. He kept saying, "This is not complete. This is not Bhagavad Gita, not complete." So then one more drunkard came to add to the mela. And then he said, "Hey, why you are arguing here? The second drunkard tells the first drunkard, looks like you are not a Hindu. Hey, I am a Hindu. If you are a Hindu, buy this Bhagavad Gita. So this guy had no answer. So he took out money, purchased the Gita. Although it was incomplete as per him. Then, the devotee thought, oh, let me show another book. He showed Krishna book to the second drunkard because he seemed favorable. The second drunkard gave the book to the first drunkard. Said, if you are a Hindu, buy this also. He purchased that also. After purchasing 2 books, the first drunkard tells the second one, what about you? Are you Hindu? Why you are not purchasing? You also purchase. So he also purchased, and finally 2 drunkards' book score was 3 Mahabig. So Prabhupada, when he went to the West, he said that the equivalent of begging, if you go out and beg people, please take this knowledge, as Prabodhanand Saraswati says, Dante Trinaya Nipator Kritva cha kakushatam etat aham bravimi. How to preach? Take a straw in the teeth, go and fall at the feet of people and say, oh gentlemen, you are so great. First glorify them. Hey sadhavo, oh great soul. And then they become very honored and they feel respected and they look at you. Oh yeah, what should I do? Sakala duram iham vivaya. Give up this nonsense. So first say, oh gentlemen, and say yes. Give up this nonsense. Ooh. And then do what? Chaitanya Chandra Charane Kuruta Anuraga. Please accept the devotional service at the lotus feet of Lord Sri Chaitanya Mahaprabhu. So therefore, it's very important to know that actually speaking, what Srila Prabhupada has done is revolutionary. He has taken these books which were in Sanskrit, translated them into English, and then further into all regional languages. And then these books are in different, dimensions. Some are huge, some are small, some are really small, and give opportunity for anyone and everyone to read. Right? And there is one smaller one also, Teachings of Prahlad. Very thin. So many years ago, our devotees, when they were distributing, one man suddenly came to them and said, I am searching for this book, coming back. I said, hey, what happened? Where you saw it? No, I saw it, some time ago with somebody. I took the book in my hand. I read one line of that book. And by reading that one line, when I went to my home, there was some big problem going on, but that one line solved my problem. So I am thinking, if I take the whole book, how much I will be benefited. So I am searching for that book. So then this devotee started searching in his book bag. He couldn't find, coming back. He said, but you take some other book, essence is same. Because book distributor won't leave so easily. The essence is same. So he says, no, I want coming back only. I said, no, coming back is not there. Ultimately, the conclusions are same. Take this other. No, coming back. So our Tulsi Priya Prabhu was at that time distributing books. Before he distributed, Pathmeda milk, he was distributing books. So he showed him Teachings of Prahlad Maharaj. And he said, you take this book and read this one line. He read the line. He says, now better buy this book, because if this line benefits you, you'll again start searching for this book in future. Better take it today only. So he took that book. So many times one may feel, oh, these books are benefiting me now, benefiting in future. And actually speaking, even 1 or 2 lines you read in a day, many times illuminate such a revelation that something which has been bothering you for some time, immediately you get an answer there. Right? In Boston, there's a true story. One devotee was telling me this, that, he had joined the ashram, and then after joining the ashram, the temple commander was very heavy. So he would wake up the people by force in the morning. So this brahmachari was sleeping, so he caught him by the feet, and raised him like Shirsasan to make sure he wakes up. Not only wakes up, he has no other chance to sleep again. So this devotee was thinking, this is too rough. I can't deal with this, I must leave. So he decided to leave. And then as he was taking a bath, he was listening to Prabhupada's tape. And as he was listening to Prabhupada's tape, Prabhupada was speaking from teachings of Queen Kunti. And those lectures actually became transcribed into the book Teachings of Queen Kunti. So Prabhupada was speaking, and Prabhupada said in that lecture that when one becomes serious in Krishna consciousness, Maya also becomes serious. Maya is Krishna's servant. The duty of Maya is to test you, because she does not want anyone not serious to disturb Krishna. So Maya's duty is to see whether you have come to serve Krishna or disturb Krishna. And therefore, she has to perform her duty as a servant to Krishna. And when this devotee heard this, he thought, my God, looks like I am getting disturbed unnecessarily. If I am serious about attaining Krishna, I should not become disturbed about small things. So he came out after the shower. He had already packed everything to leave. He unpacked everything, put it back in his locker, continued on. And this devotee is His Holiness Niranjan Swami Maharaj. So just imagine what one lecture can do. What one point in a lecture can do. Just one line you read, how it can transform. Right? In one bus station, someone was distributing books in a bus. And as he was distributing these books to customers in the bus, one man sitting in the back got up and said, these books are excellent. I have read them. They really changed my life. I recommend everyone should read. You also take, you also take, you also take. And he joined the book distributor in distributing. And the book distributor was wondering, who's this person? From where he suddenly came? It doesn't seem to be from the temple. And then after majority of the people took, this gentleman called the book distributor on the side and said, I helped you market all these books. Give me one book free. I've been watching all of you distributing books for a few days, but I don't have money to buy. But I was eager to read these books. I couldn't afford these books. I thought, how can I get? So I thought, by helping you in marketing, you may donate one to me. So this devotee thought, okay, itna bata ek le lo. So therefore, it's the December marathon. And the history of the December Christmas marathon is that, in the West, everyone is in a mood for celebration and shopping, and it's a festive occasion. And so in the 70s, it became a tradition to go out and distribute Srila Prabhupada's books in different places. And since then, it has become such a powerful opportunity for the whole of ISKCON society to focus on this one activity. And in fact, last year I was talking to His Holiness Gopal Krishna Goswami Maharaj, and there was some other meeting I was calling him for. And then he said, oh, it's the Christmas marathon, it is December marathon. For the whole month of December, I do not travel anywhere. I sit in Delhi and oversee the book distribution going on here. So I was very inspired. I said, he's totally absorbed in, this process of distributing Srila Prabhupada's books in the month of December. So here we have a group of devotees who are facilitating this book distribution, and having understood the contribution of Srila Prabhupada and the previous acharyas in what they have given to us in the form of these books. By appreciating this value, each one of us can be inspired to go out and distribute these books. And this year, this Christmas marathon, this December marathon, we are dedicating in the memory of His Grace Srinathji Prabhu, because he was also one of the very powerful pillars of supporting the publishing, printing, and the distribution of Srila Prabhupada's books. In fact, in 1996, he donated one huge Sankirtan bus, and that was practically the first official bus party we had to go village to village, town to town in Maharashtra and distribute books. And I think in the last few years, he had been regularly helping to subsidize the costs of the Bhagavad Gita and distribute Gita to many underprivileged children in the villages in various places. And he has always been very much in tune with the philosophy of Krishna consciousness, goes deep into understanding Srila Prabhupada's purports and nuances from different angles. And therefore, we thought that since this year in October, he departed from our association, we thought that we will dedicate this book distribution marathon of this year in the memory of His Grace Srinathji Prabhu. Thank you all very much. Hare Krishna.
Hare Krishna devotees, Dandavat Pranam. Thank you, His Holiness Jayapatāka Maharaj, for giving instructions on the importance of book distribution, and also His Grace Gauranga Prabhu for sharing his experience and in what circumstances actually Srila Prabhupada wrote this purport and how much effort he put behind that, and he also inspired us in distributing the books. Devotees, may please unmute their mic if you want to share any realization or comments. We have another couple of minutes of time.
Hare Krishna Prabhu, I missed a short portion. That is, he was telling, even reading one line of the book, it matters a lot. What is it, Prabhu?
So actually, what Prabhuji was actually quoting from the experience, like even if you read one line, I think he quoted two realizations. One was that one devotee, he wanted to leave the ashram in Boston, and he heard Prabhupada lecture, where one line of Prabhupada lecture actually inspired him. I think it was the Kunti Maharani's prayer, where Prabhupada says that Maya can actually, Maya is the eternal servant of the Lord, and she will really test whether this devotee is really for serving Krishna or disturbing Krishna. So after hearing this, that devotee gave up the idea of leaving the ashram. And then the another pastime he shared was one person actually read one line from Coming Back, the book Coming Back. He said one line, he read just one line, and he went home. There was some problem, and that problem was sorted out with that one line of inspiration. And he came back and he was asking for that book, and that book was not available. So I think the other devotee, he actually gave Prahlad Maharaj instruction, asking him to buy, read that book. So one line, he said, even one line, when at some point of time when we are having some difficulties, that one line may give inspiration to us. That's what Prabhuji was explaining, Mataji. Other devotees can add on.
Okay, Prabhu. Thank you so much.
He didn't say what was that line, but he said,
Yeah.
Generally one line.
Okay.
Thank you, Prabhu. Dandavat Pranam. Hare Krishna.
Thank you, devotees. There are no questions. We can end today's session with Vaishnava Pranam. Vancha kalpatarubhyasya kripa sindho bhayeva patitanam pavanebhyo Vaishnavebhyo namo namaha. Granthra Srimad Bhagavatam ki jai, Jagat Guru Srila Prabhupada ki jai. December Book Marathon Maha Mahotsav ki jai. Hare Krishna. I'll end the Zoom session. Jai Gaur. Premanande Hari Mo.